Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Caught on the Mic. I am Michael Clark. After a chance meeting at a game night hosted by a mutual friend, Los Angeles musicians John Sinclair and Fil Thorpe started a collaboration for the ages. Just a few weeks later, they would find themselves composing some of their earliest material, and one of those songs alone has over 8.5 million streams on Spotify, a song called Red Runs Cold. World's First Cinema is a very unique sounding band that I cannot stop listening to since I was introduced to them just recently. I had a fantastic conversation with the guys, learned about their origin story, but really got into the nitty gritty of what makes up who they are. I hope you enjoy this episode. As always, listener and viewer discretion is advised. John and Fil from World's First Cinema joins me on Caught on the Mic today. Ladies and gentlemen, I just made a 45-minute drive so I could get to my podcast studio because I was super excited to record this episode. Usually, I don't know if it's the old man in me, but I have at this point in life where I typically drive in silence, but I needed something to motivate me, and I put on the music of my next guest's World's First Cinema. And I gotta say, it set the tone. It set up the drama. It set up the anticipation, everything that ties into this band's name. And I'm sure they're sick of hearing how their music perfectly emulates their name. But John and Fil from World's First Cinema are joining me on Caught on the Mic today. How the hell are you guys?
Oh, we're great, man.
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling Christmassy.
Oh man, I am stoked to have you guys here, and I shit you not, like, I'm sure you guys have heard it a million times that your name and your music are a perfect match, and I cannot remember a time where that has been more true or more sincere. Is that on accident? I'm sure it's not.
No, I mean, that means a lot, man. Would hear it a million more times from you.
I don't think we have heard that all that much, actually. Like,
What's that, Fil?
I don't think we have heard that all that much, actually.
Really?
It's come up a couple times, but not with as much passion as you've just put in.
Yeah, can we keep you around, Mike? This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I will be your hype man. That's all I'll just ask.
Okay, let's do that.
So let's talk a little bit about your origin story. Let's get into the weeds on how you guys came together. I'm sure that's a story you guys have told a few times. Let's tell it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. We met at I was brand new to LA, and we met at a buddy's party, and it's like generic, but it ended up being like a super lasting creative connection that Fil and I made. We started doing stuff that was originally like solely for film and TV, which I'm sure you're familiar with, like sync music.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became apparent really quickly that it was like, oh, this is something a little bit more. There's a bit more to chew on with this project, and it was awesome. I was doing a solo project at the time, and I just felt like it was the right moment to transition, and World's First Cinema was born.
So what about from your perspective, Fil?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely accurate. Like, you know, we met at this friend of ours party. He was doing like a little games night thing, and I had been wanting to. I'd come out of my old band at that time, and I was producing, and I'd wanted to start doing a bit more like sync stuff, and I'd been messing around with that. And then I met John. I just saw that this amazing voice, and his music was really cool, and it was just like very LA thing. I'm just like, oh, like let's get together and jam and like make some tunes.
It was
like,
awesome too. Like Phil's selling himself short, but at the time, he had just left his old band, and he was like maybe a year and a half into producing self-taught off like YouTube and stuff. And I had been doing it for years and doing my own solo project. And we started those first few records, and I was like, oh shit, man, you're way better at this than me. So you should definitely take the reins.
Yeah. I don't know about all that, but yeah, I mean, I had been like doing a lot of electronic production for the last like year and wanted to do the sync stuff, like I said. And in like our first ever hang session, we wrote the song Castles and Can't Feel Anything, both of which are out now. And it just was very quickly apparent that like there was like a vibe. And even though for the first few months it was very like, we're going to do this sync thing, just felt like the songs, I think we like accidentally like naturally started structuring them and writing them more pop sort of structured and melodically, just because that's what we both do. And yeah, we just felt like we had this cool, unique thing in front of us that was growing, of this like, it's like really cinematic and syncy, and that they're kind of like pop structured. And like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a band that like, you know, there's been bands I think who have said they do that, but in my opinion don't. And yeah, we just thought this could be really cool, and it just sort of grew from there. And as these things do quite naturally, you know, we just kept writing and kept developing it. And once we started thinking about all the like, you know, the branding side of it and how it would creatively package together, it all quite quickly became World's First Cinema. And then we were just off, and it just never stopped really from there.
Yeah, it's like destination music to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Where a lot of bands think of their music in terms of songs, you guys are thinking about it as a total package.
Yeah. We definitely wanted it to feel like a cool kind of understandable universe feeling kind of aesthetic band where, you know, at a time where I think we were both quite, you know, I would say burnt out, but like just I felt there was so much of like the same stuff. We were just having like so much fun being like, oh yeah, we'll do a song about werewolves that's got like a 20-part choir and a string quartet. Like,
and you can do
that's
it
just fun.
And it doesn't sound weird. Like that was the whole goal, is like sort of unlock, you know, there's nothing we can't really do on these records. Like, oh, you want like a huge cinematic back end where the song entirely changes and goes into like this halftime 808 driven cinematic trailer music drop. And it's like, yeah, that makes complete sense for this record. That's sick.
So with your guys' previous backgrounds, how do you delineate what you did from in the past with how you're taking your music in the future? Do you ever worry about fingerprints of old stuff kind of landing into your new stuff? Or is it pretty simple for you to deconstruct and create something new and fresh? Because what you guys are doing is definitely new and fresh.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's pretty easy not to worry about that, just because like, you know, I was doing a pop punk band for a really long time.
Right.
It's just not that. I mean, you know, there's the occasional melody or chorus or a little bit of production that feels a little bit like that. But,
couple
you know,
riffs.
what I was doing was already so sort of generic. There wasn't anything particularly unique about that, you know. And then doing the electronic stuff for a while, which I was doing, which did all right. Like, there's fingerprints of that, but more in the sense of just like stylistic choices and kind of like the way I like to write or produce or whatever. Like, this is kind of its own thing, so it's like very easy for it to feel unique, I think.
Is it a challenge to build a hook in cinematic style music like this, like a vocal hook or a melody hook, something that's going to stick in somebody's
for us?
Well, I would say the hook isn't the challenge. You know, we write a lot. We end up we'll write like 30 songs, and this is pretty standard. You write like 20 or 30 songs, and you throw 29 of them away and end up with going. So you're always going to get the hook, but I think sometimes the challenge is like making the two worlds clash, which is totally exactly what you're asking. But yeah, I think sometimes we've struggled with, you know, we've made a song and we're like, yeah, it's a great song, but it's just not like X Factory enough. Like it's just kind of a song, you know? And like, how do we make it WFC? Like, how do we find that excuse to fit that trailer drop in there and stuff? So I think we've run into that a couple times and either had to move on to a different song or conquered it. I mean, a couple songs off this upcoming album, we rewrote like 4 times to get it right.
I know from my own past experience, sometimes you can take a song that you think is totally stage ready, you get it on stage and you're just like, man, this is shit. I got to take this back to the you know, the workstation and start over again. Like, have you had moments like that where you've stage tested material and you're like, okay, we need to retool this and see how we can upend it?
Yeah, it's not so much like stage testing it and redoing it, more just like songs that you think might work well live that
Right.
don't, or vice versa. Like, yeah, this song is great,
Yeah.
but it's less of a live song, or like that song is like a live song, but it's not a particularly like streamy song or whatever. Like,
I mean, I've been totally wrong before too, in a more fortunate way. Like, we have the song Red Run Cold, which is always streamed super well for us, and it's like kind of, it's just had a bit more of a moment than the other songs when it came out, and I feel like it's the one people recognize, if they do recognize us at all. And, the shows we've done, I'll see people, like, singing the lyrics, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, like, this track." So we kinda had to play it live, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fucking shit live, man." Like, it's so
Right.
slow, and it's, like, half-timey, and, like, it starts really ballady and then builds, but it takes a while, and there's this whole violin bit, and it kicked ass. It was really good. It was, like, one of the coolest moments of our set, and that I didn't expect that at all.
well,
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Kind of a chicken or the egg question, but did the name influence the songwriting or the songwriting influence the name?
now the name came a little bit later. I mean, not later,
Yeah.
but like we already had a batch of songs and we had a tone and we knew what it sounded like, and then it was a case of coming up with a name that felt like it fit for the sound more than the inverse of that. And yeah, there wasn't any other contestants. I think when we started thinking about a name, I think it was about a week, and I brought a bunch of different names down, and that was one of them. And I remember pitching it to John. I was like kind of on the fence about it. I was like, well, I think this is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
he was like,
You
oh
almost
yeah,
didn't tell me. I had to, like, twist your arm. We were walking back from sandwiches at your old K-Town apartment, and you were like, "Oh, I got
yeah,
this name, but, like, I don't know." And I was like, "Well, just tell me." You're like, "No, I'm still working chop." I was like, "Dude, just tell me." Like, world's first cinema. And I was like, "That's it. Boom." We never considered another name.
Have
yeah.
you guys considered what it's like creating a sound like this right now versus if you would have done it 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah,
Do
I'd
you
way rather have done it 6, 7, 8 years ago.
right,
Fuck
but
all doing it now.
but but the reason I ask that is the world a little bit more open-minded and ready for what you are putting forth as opposed to what the temperature of
Yeah.
popular music was back then.
I mean, it's who knows? Who knows what would have been had it been another
Yeah.
time? But there's a very like double-sided coin to the now, because the now is like, oh, everybody's open to everything and there's so much of everything. But as the downside of that is because there's everything, nothing stands out.
Right.
And everything's so quick and it disappears so quickly. And I do think now it's yeah. I mean, we're still early in this band's inception, but yeah, it is sort of challenging, like competing with the sort of hot trends and the bedroom pops and the fans and the kids who want like they find the one thing and then there's 10 other projects that all sound exactly the same as it, and that's just what's hot right now. That's what they want. Like it is hard to get people interested in something that's so different. But the flip side of the positive is I think that when those people have their thing, it's usually quite short-lived and it's usually based around a song. Whereas like it's a slower road for us, but when we do
Yeah.
finally connect with fans, they really care and they stay and they listen to everything and they,
Yeah. I
they
agree.
commit.
I feel like in a world of, like, I'm not trying to sound pretentious at all, but, like, in a world of, like, TikTok and apps and, like, everything's moving super fast and
Right.
AI and, like, we're trying to get everyone to read a book, which is not a super popular take. Like,
Yeah.
but there are people who are looking for exactly that, and I think, like Phil said, it's a slower burn, but, like, there's a lot to chew on once you get into our universe, you know?
Yeah. There's pros and cons on both sides for sure.
For
But
sure.
I
For sure.
do feel like if we were then, I think I don't know, who knows, but I think it would have been a little bit. I think people just had more commitment to bands and their universes and that stuff back then, like 6, 7 years ago, like you say, when bands like Panic and MyChem and Turn On Pars and all that kind of stuff, like people really cared about a whole record and a band's world and what they were doing a little more than I think they care about it now. I think now it's a little more about like the song and the present moment of what they're promoting at that time.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a result of how release strategies have changed? Like a band will record an album and then piecemeal the release over the course of a full year before the album itself in
Yeah.
totality drops.
They probably
And
both feed each other is probably
right.
like, it's probably like one takes one little step and the other does that. And we've ended up in a different place than it kind of used to be, but you know,
Yeah.
it's always going to develop.
I think like the music business is, I think it's largely reactive, as a lot of businesses are. And I think that piecemeal strategy is a response to like streaming, you know, and TikTok, like, which came to being to please the consumer. And then the music business is trying to figure out the best way to fit the music into that model. So
Right.
I think, yeah, I think that's definitely changed the way music's, you know, coming out these days.
It's funny you mention Red Run Cold and how that was kind of like the flagship song to get everybody jazzed up about it. And you had some reluctance, John, about playing that live initially, and then it just kicked ass. Because that song on that drive that I was talking about on the lead off of the episode, I thought to myself, if I want to sell somebody on this band, and that somebody being my wife, who will listen to this song over and over and over again, this is the song I would, you know, it perfectly encapsulates your sound.
Yeah.
Would you guys consider yourself a concept band because of the way that your music kind of carries itself thematically?
I don't know if I'd go as far as say concept band, only because my association of what that means
Right.
is probably a little
Yeah.
different, but maybe someone might. I think we're in the
Yeah.
earlier days we were like, 'cause when we did our first couple EPs, we were going way further into this like over the top theatrical thing. You know, we were like
Yeah, and we were
wearing
like literally singing about
going out
Dracula.
holding candles and singing about Dracula. Like for a while there, we were gonna go like all out on that, and then we were just having so much fun writing stuff that didn't fit into that world. We were like, okay, what if we just like
Yeah.
widen the net a little bit and we stay in this tone, but we allow for some other perspectives? And that's made it fun because we've been able to do this thing where like it's almost like we're not a concept band, but every release is kind of a concept of its own. You know?
Yeah,
makes sense.
totally. I think if our rules were stricter, we'd be a concept band. But when I think of concept bands, I think of like Ghost, you know,
Right.
and that there's like such, like there are rigid rules for pop and like that universe and stuff. And like we just are too ADHD to have that set up.
We do
So-
have a idea that it like it has to, the tone has to feel like it fits in a certain
Yeah.
well, like, you know, each release kind of gets its own
Yes.
kind of
That's exactly what I was going to say.
yeah, and you know,
Almost more akin to like Welcome to the Black Parade kind of thing.
yeah,
where it's,
totally.
Yes.
where you're almost a different character with every album, something
yeah,
along
we're
those
going
lines.
a year-long kind of vibe.
Yeah, and then we'll switch up the branding for a new concept. So in that way, we're conceptual. But yeah, I agree with Phil. I don't think we're like a concept band.
Sure.
You know. Yeah.
So when you're writing things lyrically in particular, is there a common character in between all of your songs, or is it you guys personified?
Ooh, that's
Oh, yeah,
interesting.
all sorts. It kind of changes song to song. I mean, there's definitely like recurring themes, but like, just in the sense that like all music is eventually going to come down to like, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm angry. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's not human shit, you know. But
Yeah.
again, like in the early beginning, like the Fables EP we did, it was quite strict because we had like a song about werewolves, a song about
Yeah.
vampires, like.
And there was this sort of like mythological creature called Young Beast who like made an appearance in a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
And is also a track that's like one of my favorites we've ever done. But yeah, I mean, I think with this like new era of what we're doing and the new album, it's like more, the concept has shifted and it's a little more emotional and it's like a little more raw. I feel like we are speaking more from the place of Phil and John than we are from like a character in a film you've never seen, you know?
I would probably assume safely that that's just due to the evolution of your collaboration.
Yeah.
Mm.
And just
Yeah.
with what's been going on with the band and, you know, in our lives. And, you know, at that time, we were really enjoying doing this whole kind of concept character thing. And, you know, we've just had so much going on and so much has been moving around. Like we've just organically ended up writing more personal stuff, I think.
Yeah.
If you were to structure out kind of what the end goal of a touring production for you guys would look like,
Like if we had unlimited budget and everybody wanted tickets.
Right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, kind of. Yeah, kind of like if you unlimited budget, and
Yeah.
if you were to take these songs as they are right now and put them on the road, how would that look?
It'd be fucking mental is how it would look. The Soleil meets fucking Hans Zimmer,
Yeah.
meets fucking My Chemical Romance. As much fire and fucking knobheads running around doing backflips.
Yeah, I
He's not bad.
completely agree. If budget was no issue, the batshit part is that, like, if you take these songs and you're like, oh, well, we want like, like an 18-piece gospel choir on it. Like that part's already in the song. Like we don't even have to write new things. Like if you want like a full brass section, it's like, that I can just like transpose that stuff from the song, give it
Full-on
to the
orchestra
players.
bit.
Yeah, like we really could. There's like so much. I think it goes back to what we were saying. Like we really wanted to make this truly cinematic. So like that stuff's in there.
Yeah, what I'd say
Right.
the slightly more real answer for that would be the thing to reference, and we always come back to, is like obviously we do like these deluxe versions of all of our releases where we do, we have a song and we have like an instrumental cinematic score version of the song that leads into it and it plays on the melody. So in a more realistic answer for us, it's like bringing that in, and we do them live now, but like doing them with a full orchestra and all the rest of it. So it'd be like, half of the set feels like this huge kind of orchestral cinematic thing, like you're watching a Hans Zimmer show, and then the other half is like a punk rock show, and it all kind of blends together seamlessly. And that is what we're doing now, just with a lot less people on stage. So Dream World is just doing that, but having 15 string players with us and brass and choirs, and maybe someone dressed as Dracula as well, just for the
Okay, so a little less batshit here. Let me ask, do you guys have some people in mind that you would like to collaborate with in the not too distant future? Do you want to do collaborations with other artists?
Oh yeah, we'd love to do anything like that with anyone that we look up to and we like. I mean, doing fucking collabs and getting features and stuff, like we were like, yeah, we're totally up to that if it's someone that is awesome and we love what they do. And I think we have an opportunity to do something a little different rather than being the like, oh, we're in a pop punk band, so we're going to get that other guy from the other pop punk band that sounds exactly like us to sing on the pop punk track.
So let's focus on that new release that's coming out. It's coming out after the first of the year.
I think there's a couple more singles rolling out as part of it before the actual whole album drops.
So what can you tell us about the single?
I'd say the ones that are coming, we've purposely done it so that they all highlight different things of what we do. Like the one coming is like quite a dark, like riffy song, which we've done in the past, and the one following it is more of a ballady, emotional production, cinematic leaning, and then the one after that is just mental on its own. So
Yeah.
all three of them sound really different, but that's the whole idea. If you listen to all three of those songs, you're like, damn, this band's doing, this is a cool, different thing. So the album must be all of this put together,
So separating yourselves from the project just for a few moments. Obviously, film, movies influence what you guys do musically. Are there other influences from your outside life that you bring to your creative life that make it better?
Yeah, probably. I mean, other than music, film's the big one, like you said, and then I guess it influences in the sense of like what we write and the mood and the tone of it, but I can't think of anything else like specific that I think really directly influences it.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like cinema is the big thing. Like I think we've always wanted these songs to sound like they were little vignettes, like little movie vignettes, little moments. And so like we've taken our love of, film, all that, and like compressed it into music. And like every song we write, I always picture, I'm sure a lot of musicians do, but I in the literal sense, I like picture, a movie cinematic that could go behind it.
I remember back in the days when I was playing in rock bands, I'd be at the gym, I'd be listening to early mixes, like while I'm on the treadmill, and I'm thinking, how would a music video to this song look?
Yeah.
And like, I'm kind of storyboarding in my own mind. So have you guys talked to any, like filmmakers, independent filmmakers, and what have you about maybe conceptualizing some of your music in that way?
Oh yeah, I mean we're always chasing that kind of stuff, and you know it's early for us. We haven't done a ton in that world, but we've had a few opportunities already that have been really cool. And um, you know, the team that did our last 2 music videos work a lot outside of music videos and film, and they've been really amazing. This company called The Corner Shop, and they've, you know, been bringing us opportunities, and we've been doing meetings with directors and things like that. And we actually got to do we got to score this thing for the Blade Runner franchise for part of this promotional campaign for this new thing they're doing with a book release. And that just came through this serendipitous, awesome thing that this incredible visual tech guy called Habib was shooting this thing, and he'd just done a bit of work on our music video, and you know, gave us a chance to do some music for this thing he was doing, and he loved it, and it worked out, and it was great. And yeah, that's definitely like a big goal. Like the goal is that, you know, we're that band that like puts out records, but you know, there's a new movie coming out, like, yeah, we'll do the soundtrack. That would be sick, you know?
Yeah, that is really the dream.
So, John, if you were to throw a 30-second pitch out to somebody that hasn't ever heard World's First Cinema, what would your pitch be?
I mean, listen, it's like living in a little movie moment. You know what I mean? It's got all the high dynamics of theater and film rolled into one, but you know, it's music instead. And so it's not afraid to rise and fall like cinema is.
Would you agree, Phil?
I thought you were going to ask me if I'd buy it.
Nah.
No,
Pass.
Shit, as soon as this is done, I'm going to go sell it to my wife. So,
no, I think that was a good, yeah, he said it well. Like it's kind of like we want to kind of take the fun parts of like rock music and rock bands that you love and the energy of those shows, but like mix it with the feeling of listening to movie scores and the visual component of that side, and kind of just elevating the whole thing to somewhere it's a little bit more conceptual and a bit more, you know, we want it to feel like a special occasion if you come to a show. You know, it's not just, hey, we're gonna play a few songs and rock out. Like, we want it to be like, damn, that was weird, that was cool.
That was
Made me feel
cool. Yeah.
things. It was,
an
I
event.
think a lot of that involves risk too, and that's something I feel like is really missing from. There are a lot of artists that do it. I don't want to sound like a downer. Like there are a lot of really cool projects who take risks.
Yeah.
But I feel like what we do is risky. Like we make and put money into and put out stuff that like I know is hard to sell. It's not straight up and down. It's not super formulaic. It's got weird stuff in it, and like I think that's such a big part of what we do, you know, is like my favorite artists are like all taking risks. And even when I don't like their new record, I always respect that they weren't afraid to step out of line and try something that may be kind of whack, but like whatever.
Very ironic that you brought that up. I was watching a video yesterday, a YouTube video that was analyzing the career of Bring Me the Horizon in particular, and talking about how every single one of their records was a giant leap, and some of the records just didn't stick. Like, and my favorite Bring Me the Horizon album is probably their, like, the general public's least favorite. I love Amo. And I thought to myself, you know, that is it. The greater the risk, the greater the reward, and the better chance at a longer career. There had to be a first Beatles. There had to be a first Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
There had to be a first My Cam, and there's a first World's First Cinema, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like,
let's hope that we're it and it's not someone else.
yeah.
See?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's art, you know, art. I think art and risk are like intertwined, because if there's no risk, it's just kind of like graphic design or something, you know, it's not like the same thing. Like it's
Right.
it's yeah.
Right.
It comes down to the people making it too. Like, you've got to fuck with what you're doing, you know, like if everybody wants you to do A, but you're just in the mood to do B, and your brain wants you to do that, then that's what you got to do. You know, I think as long as it's true to what you like and what you think is cool, there's
Totally.
someone out there who'll agree, and that
I really don't think you should be making songs to like fill a consumer base. Like if you want to sell a product, like music is a shit product to sell, man. Like go sell a
Right.
product, go find a market where you actually get paid, because like you got to be in music to make cool music and inform people of what's cool. Otherwise, like, forget it.
I love that you think that way. Guys, this has been a pleasure. My wrap-up question for each one of you, you can take turns answering it. But I ask this of every guest, everybody from UFC fighters to famous actors to other people that I've had on my show. And that is, the answers are batshit crazy, to reference an earlier term. But what's your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today from your individual perspectives?
Oh, I mean, it's so corny, but like, I guess it plays back to what we were just saying. Like, don't be afraid to take risks and be yourself, and like try stuff that hasn't been tried before, you know?
Yeah, I'd say
Don't be a dick.
don't be a dick's a good one. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I think I'd say like being a bit more patient, thinking of things from other people's side a little more, and like I think if everyone did that, everything would be a lot easier. And I think slowing down the pace sometimes a little bit would be good for everyone.
Yeah.
Take a beat.
But yeah, I don't know, mate. If I had a good answer for that question, I probably wouldn't be a musician. That's probably just well, yeah, man. I have something going on. I don't know.
Phil, John, tell my audience where they can find you guys and your music online, please.
All of the obvious: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Instagram, and TikTok, anywhere you would expect to find anything streamable, it's there. World's First Cinema should be easy to find because there's not many bands with the same name or anything close to our name. So, World's First Cinema. If you've got the 3 words World's First Cinema and you can't find us, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You tried.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Phil and John from World's First Cinema. Guys, the world's a much better place with Unit. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate you.